While GoPro has managed to fend off just about every other competitor to the action camera crown, DJI has been continuously updating and iterating its own competitor. This is a DJI Osmo Action 4, and it's time to see if this could finally be DJI's year. Yo, what's going on everybody? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different, an action camera. This is the DJI Osmo Action 4. But before I give you my thoughts on this camera and how it fares as an action camera for runners, I do want to go over some disclosures. This camera and all the cameras and equipment that I'm going to be talking about in this video is equipment that I purchased myself for my own use for this channel. No one's paying me to make this video. No one sent me any video equipment to make this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the DJI Osmo Action 4. Now, first, let's go over the way that I'm gonna use this, and that's gonna also help kind of like narrow down some of the specs, because all these action cameras in 2023 can do a ton of different things, and where it may be better or worse than its competition really can depend on what you need and what you're trying to film. So I'm gonna talk about it from my perspective and what the specs are that are important to me. So the way that I use an action camera is I run with an action camera every single day. I review running shoes here on YouTube, and I collect running footage of myself running in the shoes every day on YouTube. So I am a daily action camera user. I also use a variety of action cameras, 360 cameras, and all sorts of other cameras, as I also film race footage and also do some daily vlogging of my travel as I go to document and cover races, or as I'm going to participate in these events myself. So I don't do a lot of photography or not that many time lapses with them. So that's something that I probably won't talk about too much. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of the specs that are going to be really important to me. For me at this point in 2023, if a camera doesn't have 4K shooting resolution at 120 frames per second, it's pretty much a non-starter. Linear FOV, so I can get a distortion-free image from all four corners of the video. Image stabilization, good audio, quick to start recording, really good battery life, low light performance if I can get it. I know these are action cameras and they can only do so much, but weight and size are also a concern for me as I am running and holding these cameras, and reliability is also incredibly important because a lot of times you're not going to get a second chance to take that shot. So with those kind of parameters set out, let's talk about how the Osmo Action did. This year in 2023 for the fourth version, they do have a bigger sensor, and I really thought that that would up a lot of the performance here, but frankly, I'm not sure that I can really tell a difference in terms of the quality and caliber of the videos that I'm getting out of the Osmo Action 4 from the Osmo Action 3, even with the bigger sensor. So for my workflow, they're pretty much identical cameras to me. At 4K 120, the images are nice and contrasty. The 4K slow motion footage looks really nice when it's evenly lit, but it still suffers from the same problem that it always had in the DJI Osmo Action 3 and in the Osmo Action 2, which had a very different form factor. And that's the fact that like dynamic range is still a really big problem for, I don't know if it's a software problem or a sensor problem or what it is, but it's still a problem with the DJI Osmo Action 4, where if there is sky and shadows in the same image, like the camera can't figure out what to focus on. So typically it calibrates itself for sky. And that means that when I'm backlit a little bit, when I'm outside, sometimes my image will come out really, really dark. So I can try and fix it in post, but it ends up really just blowing out the entire image or really blowing out the sky in a weird way. And so I could still get the shot, but it's not always the best. And I really wish that this camera would do better at figuring out how to calibrate itself for more difficult lighting conditions, or in other words, real life lighting conditions. As far as the linear field of view, I do find myself enjoying the way that the DJI Osmo Action, both the 3 and the 4, handle their linear or non-warped field of view. And I think the reason why I'm drawn to it is for certain angles, it looks much more dramatic because it's a little bit wider than the GoPro linear field of view without it being too distorted. But that being said, there was a couple of instances where I brought the Osmo Action around with me, and just like some of the images that I wanted to pull from, they were a little bit off center from like the exact middle of the frame, and it very quickly starts to get distorted. So even though it's not fisheye, it still is distorted because it is just that wide of an image. So there are times when that's a strength, but for me, a lot of times it ended up being a weakness. Now, in terms of stabilization, which is a really important thing that I need, I feel like the Osmo Action 4 does a very good job, but I think that Rocksteady, and I don't think that there's been any upgrades to the Rocksteady between the Osmo Action 3 and the Osmo Action 4, but I feel like the Rocksteady just isn't as good as it is on the GoPro Hero with its hyper smooth. There's especially sometimes when I was just walking around and vlogging where there's like kind of like some muscle memory in terms of things that I normally do, where I hold my cameras, how I'm positioning things, that I know have worked well for me in the past. And then when I went and did the same kind of like shots and angles and like camera positions as I'm vlogging with the Osmo Action 4, I'm finding that it's just much more jittery and it's moving around a whole lot more. And so I just feel like it's good, very much usable, just not as good as the GoPro when it comes to stabilization. Now, I will say though that the one area where the Osmo Action 4 has improved quite a bit over the Osmo Action 3 is in the audio. I felt like the Osmo Action 3, like even the littlest bit of jogging at an easy warm-up pace would just rush wind over the microphones in the Osmo Action 3, making most audio just unusable when you're running with that camera, whether you're trying to capture ambient crowd noise or whether you're trying to capture a conversation between two people running on an easy day. I just felt like the Osmo Action 3 was horrible. A lot of that has been fixed, and even in some very difficult wind conditions when I was up in Boulder, it's out there, I felt like the Osmo Action 4 did a very good job. Did it do better than the GoPro Hero 11? I'm not sure, because I do feel like audio is the GoPro's secret most underrated feature, but I felt like it was definitely something that I could work with, and it wasn't a limiting factor in terms of when or how I could shoot. Low light imaging is still really atrocious in the Osmo Action 4 as it was last year, even with the bigger sensor, and that's where I feel like I'm the most disappointed in this camera. I was really hoping that it would be able to do a lot better in this respect, and I found that it was like much worse than a GoPro in a lot of not low light conditions even, but like lowish light. So there was a couple of shots where I was in the woods, up in the hills in Chamonix, France, covering UTMB, coming down the hill, chasing after some of the runners, when there's tree cover. It was a sunny, bright, sunny day, but when there's just some tree cover, any kind of like foot impact that I was hitting the ground with as I was running along just sent a shake all the way through my body and made it very jittery on this camera. And that's something that I really wouldn't see on a GoPro Hero 11. Similar types of shooting conditions that I've shot with the GoPro Hero 11, even chasing some of the same runners on different courses and different levels of tree cover and light. But that kind of situation, I do not expect there to be jitter in the camera, and it was a real disappointment. And I felt like it kind of ruined a very important shot that I really needed to get. I don't know if ruin's the right word, but it messed up the shot, and I felt like it was very distracting. The camera needs to be able to figure out what the best settings are and really nail it every single time I hit that record button. And I just didn't feel like I was getting that from the DJI Osmo Action 4. There is one pleasant surprise though, since I bought the DJI Osmo Action 4, and that's the DJI Osmo Action stick. It's a little bit heavier than the normal GoPro stick that I run with, just a generic one that I bought off Amazon. But this one pulls out and extends really nicely, and it's very, very long. Much longer than the stick that I use normally when filming action camera footage. So I don't always extend it to the full length, but it's nice to know that I have it there. It works really well with both my 360 cameras and with the action camera as well. It does take a little bit of muscle memory to figure out like exactly how long do I want to extend it for different types of angles, but it's nice to know that I have that extra flexibility there if I need it. I highly recommend picking up that DJI Osmo Action selfie stick. So those are my thoughts on the DJI Osmo Action 4. It's a camera that I feel like you should at this point just buy the DJI Osmo Action 3. I really can't tell the difference between the two, except for the fact that the audio is improved. So if you're gonna use it for vlogging, maybe that's a situation where you would pick it up. But really, I'm going to recommend that you guys pick up either the GoPro Hero 11 or the newly released GoPro Hero 12. Mine should be coming in next week, so hit the subscribe button if you want to see my review of that new incoming camera. But DJI Osmo Action 4 is still not going to take the place of any recent GoPro, so I'm always going to recommend that you guys buy the GoPro. So let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Monday through Friday right here on YouTube. I'd love to talk to you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs or for whatever action footage that you are filming, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?